to Atlantic Ocean, over me hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information. Talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Star forever. The Lone Star forever. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Joseph Towell. He's been on vacation. He returning. Ice had him. Ice just release him. Welcome back to the show, Joseph Towell.
Yeah. Thanks. How you been, my man?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you. And Merry, Happy New Year. No, excuse me. Happy 26th to you.
Same to you.
I'm going through the whole thing from Christmas to New Year. Now we're July 26th.
Yeah,
Happy July 26th to you, sir.
yeah, same to you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of On Point. Focus on Liberia's longest uninterrupted show forever. And today is July 26th. We know there's a lot of games and a lot of festivities and a lot of balls going on. But we have a social contract with you once it is on Sunday. Whether it is one person or two people or 10 or 100, we will be here as promised. Today is the 109th or 79th birthday of the Republic of Liberia. So we began with the AFL band and then the Lone Star Forever, written by Edwin Bagley. And it reads, when freedom raised her glowing form on Monserrato's verdant height, she sat within the dome of night, mist lowering skies and thunderstorms, the star of liberty, and seizing from the waking morn, a burnished shield of golden flame. She lifted it in her proud name and roused a nation long fallen to noble destiny. The Lone Star forever, the Lone Star forever. Oh, long may it float, ever land and ever seas. Just desert it? No, never. Uphold it, yea, forever. Oh, shout for the Lone Star banner. Hooray! That is it. Let me welcome again Brother Joseph Towell. That is from the great Edwin Bagley, the poet, the writer. How he saw it, the sun rising from Cape Monserrato, says, hold the flag, the banner, forsake it never. Here we are. Today, July 26th, 179th birthday. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Gibman. Hi to our panel, to our viewers.
Yes, and today is going to be a show of introspection. Share the show. Let your neighbors know that we are here. While you have your families at home and you're eating our fufu and drinking our hot pepper soup, you can still be tuning in and being a part of a great show. And I'm glad that my brother Joe Tower is here because today we are going to have an introspection. We are going to be looking from within and talking about ourselves, what went wrong, what we have had right. Are we on the right trajectory? So we are going to be talking about a subject matter that came up in the last 2 weeks or so that we have been talking about for the past almost 204 years, because the settler landed on Cape Monserrato 1822 to 2022, 200 years, 2026, 204 years today. 204 years. What have we done? What civilization have we built? What are the successes and our failure? What is it that we can hold upon and say, this is what we have done as a people for which we can be proud? So today, there was a man by the name, Dutch poet and a writer and a historian. He says, during this day, we have to look inward deep. This narrative that Liberia was never colonized, he said, it is as false as a $3 bill. Liberia was colonized. He gave us the information. He said the information has been hiding in plain sight. But I have to say, to the heroes and the winner goes the history. They are the winners. They are the victors. They write the stories. They write the stories. And if you saw the American Wild West, every time you saw John Wayne, he was riding on the horse and they would fight the Indians and they would kill all the Indians. And then they go, yeah, the hero come ride into town and they would write out all the stories. So this Dutchman is saying that's exactly what happened in Liberia. They say we were never colonized. But in the history, our own history said that the land was purchased by the American Colonization Society. The land was governed by governors. And you know, Tower and I were from the place, somewhere there they call Grand Bassa. And the capital city is Buchanan. And the governor for which they named that town is called Governor Thomas Buchanan, nephew of the former president of the United States. So how can we blatantly leave all of these history and say these people were never here? So we'll talk about that. We got history here. We read. And then the second topic, hopefully we can go through them, is Liberia. Now, as designated by the United Nations 2026 report, Liberia has been officially dogged as a major transnational cocaine hub. Liberia has been officially documented as transatlantic commercial cocaine and hard drugs. People have been arguing Liberia will never be a narco state. Liberia is never the Liberia. Now we have the evidence to prove that we have been doing this for a very long time, and we have just been caught. You know, when the crows go to jail, when they go before the judge, they say, "Judge, give me a break because I'm a first-time offender." And the judge will say, "You mean it's your first time being caught?" It's not it's your first time stealing, it's your first time coming before my court. If they didn't catch you, you will continue to steal. So let me welcome Tower. Joseph Tower, welcome to the show. Let's take on some of these controversial topics. I know they are of interest to you.
Very.
Okay, where do you want to start? Let's start with the history.
Okay. So
the
history of the place called Liberia starts in the U.S. So that we can put it in the proper perspective. Lincoln, after the Africans were enslaved, the struggle went on and Africans started to free themselves. Lincoln did not free the slaves, by the way. The Emancipation Proclamation was just a smoke screen because Lincoln government allegedly drew up a document to free the slave that he didn't have control over, but not to free the one that he had control over. So there is a saying that Lincoln freed the slaves that he couldn't have freed, and he did not free the slave that he could have freed. All the states, the states in the union, including other than himself, Lincoln said they had slaves, but the document did not refer to that. It was only to destabilize the South to create defection. So when this defection happened, Africans started to move aggressively into the North, where they felt they were going to be free. When they started arriving, then another trouble started because Lincoln and his generals got together. They said, "What are we going to do with these people?" There were discussions documented well in U.S. history that what we should do is that we should actually capture them because it was after the Civil War now. They said we should send them back to the plantation. So there were some people that resisted and said no. So they were trying to find a solution to what they would do with these men and women and children that were free. And that is how the Liberia Project was born. So yes, Mr. Gibman, you made a point here. Liberia was colonized. I don't know why they keep saying that Liberia was never colonized. They say the American colonization project. It's right there in the name. You are upside down.
In the left corner, down go Aliu.
And the phone is not even working. So maybe you can
go around.
You can go and come back in. Yeah, but so that is how the colonization society started. It was a conquering force. We need to remember that there was no Liberia, there was no Nigeria until as early as 1884, 1885 in Germany. So that whole era, Africans had civilizations and kingdoms and stuff, and they governed themselves. So, Mr. Gibman, you, when we were growing, man, so much background noise. When we were growing up, you must have something on because it's picking up the feed.
Listen, you got other gadget on. You got something else on.
Yeah, he got something on. He needs to turn it off.
Who, me? No.
Yeah, they're picking up. The
No,
feedback.
not at all. I'm here.
Okay, now you're working. Now you just turn it off.
Nice.
Nope, it's still working.
Every time you bring it low, it does that.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, everything okay now?
Let me
Yes.
see.
For
Yeah.
the time being.
Okay, for the time
You
being.
can hear me again? Maybe I should use different.
Yeah,
You can hear me?
No, they still have that something like there's an
Oh, I
echo in
can
the
change my
background.
phone if that's the case.
Yeah, change your phone, please.
Change
Okay,
everything
okay.
about
Let
you.
me
Change your shirt.
let me
Change
switch to
your
another.
glasses.
You can you can probably mute him so that we can continue. Yeah.
Yes.
So that but the Liberia colonized, and when they say we're not colonized, they're not talking about the land. They're starting the history from when the settlers came or the American Liberians came. Because when I was young in school, our history started with Mary Draper and Matilda Newport as these heroes that were conquering and fighting this good war. Just the same thing that you're saying, but John Wayne, all these people, it's the same thing. So Liberia colonized. When the American Liberians came to Liberia, to the land called Liberia today, what was happening? All of the different groups, the Kru, the Bassa, the Gribble, all these people, they have major trading posts where they were trading with the Chinese and the Europeans and the Arabs. But what happened? They needed that trade and they went after it. And in trying to do that, the US government actually came in with military assistance and logistics to help to make sure that happened. That's colonization. And so I don't, before I go detail into it, this is the path that we started on. And this foundation is wrong. They brought in a governing system, an educational system, a legal system, or an entire structure that doesn't belong in that area, and they superimpose it. And for over 100 years, there was extensive attempt made to erase the African culture. It just didn't work because as the American Liberians stayed longer, when they started to have children and it started to become intertwined, and it just didn't go on. So Mr. Gaiman and everybody listening, this is what we are. This is the foundation that was built, and this foundation must be examined. It must be toned down. It must be critiqued, because we're still trying to function out of this faulty foundation. We're still trying to make sense of it. We're still trying to make it work. It will never work. That is why Liberia is actually the worst when you look at the entire Africa in terms of ideology, in terms of strategy, from the perspective of an African center perspective, and self-value and worth. The moment you mention African culture and tradition, a Liberian is about to stab you to death or lynch you. Because what happened over 100 years? You speak any language, you could get punished. If you didn't have the name, this name and that name, you couldn't go to the school, you couldn't do this. These things were entrenched, so much so. So the problem here is that we have to recognize this and admit that these were wrong and these mistakes were made. Let us correct it now. But how do we correct it? No group of people in this world govern themselves using somebody else's culture and tradition. It will never work. It will never work. Your culture is what gives you your value system, is what gives you your worldview, is what gives you a sense of self-worth and value. So we walk around all inferior, believing everybody else. When we talk about Liberia being dependent on this person, it is all that. Because you have a whole system that completely excludes you. So how can you believe in yourself? We have no sense of direction. Your culture is what guides you.
Excellent, excellent. Let me welcome Honorable Isma. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I couldn't miss this show. This is so important to my existence and my country's existence, that this is the birth of our nation. And I only wish I could do half the justice that Call Famula could do to this topic, because she's well researched and well informed in this. There's a lot of things I hear Mr. Tao is saying. He's been influenced, but a lot of it is not factual. And we have to understand what Liberia stands for. Liberia stands for the first time an African nation is declaring themselves sovereign. All around us were colonial powers. If Liberia had not declared itself independent, sovereign, today there would be no Liberia. Would be Sierra Leone, would be Ivory Coast, would be Guinea. Let's admit the fact. There were things that could have been done better, but we have to admit, or not just admit, we have to recognize the bold stand Liberians took in the face of extreme adversity to declare themselves a people, an entity, not subject to no one, whereas they didn't even have the wherewithal, the resources that would enable them to defend themselves properly. But somehow it was a bold attempt to be a people with their own destination. Now, just many things could have been done better. There were no playbook, and a lot of things were probably emulated or borrowed from other nations agreed. But what was standing was we had slavery when Liberia declared itself independent. Slavery existed. There were slave posts all around. Those trading posts Mr. Tao was referring to, many of them were slave posts. And Liberia, the small Liberia that had been established on the coast, declared that this thing will not continue. And eventually, more Liberians, the ones in the hinterland, joined the coastland Liberia to declare that this sovereignty, this postal land will not be given to slave trading, will not be subject to colonial powers, and they will not side with the colonizers, and we would prefer to be independent on our own than being a colony of France or England or Great Britain. And we came together. Now, in the beginning, everybody was sort of autonomous, almost like state-like. No one dictated how they should live in Grand Bassa or beyond. No one said you were forced to go to school. It was kind of a loose organization. Only thing we were against is being colonized by these European nations and having our people sold as slaves. And if you can just think about it, of the audacity that they had to have when nations like France had vast naval power, nations like Great Britain with vast naval powers, they had the audacity to say, no, we are independent and we will not accept this slave type of behavior. Now, we will go into this thing in detail, but for a Liberian to castigate his country is unpatriotic. He has to be able to see that there are people who want you to do just that because you're going to defeat your own purpose. You will defeat the purpose that the whole country was created, and was all created to be a beacon of light for the rest of Africa. Now, there are things that have been going on that should have been way better. There should have been a lot of Western influence over the years. But what they could not stop was the coming together of African people to make the nation, to make this place unique. Now, if you castigate the independence of Liberia, that means you don't want to be Liberian, because there will be no Liberia. There will be Sierra Leone, there will be Ivory Coast, there will be Guinea, but there will be no Liberia. So let's approach this topic well aware that we started in adversity, clumsily, but with a hope and a dream that we could be a sovereign nation. And if we approach it like that, and we understand why some of those first settler groups were influenced by American culture, by Southern culture, because that's what they knew. But they were breaking away from that. So you ask yourself the question, if you're breaking away from that, why would you incorporate some of those ideals in your new nation? That's what we can discuss. But to say, to not recognize the boldness and the audacity of people who want to break away and go against slavery and colonialism at that time will be a devastation. And we need to be proud as Liberians of what we succeeded in doing. and recognize that we need to bring ourselves together and move in a completely different direction today.
Mr. Gilman?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very, very touchy, introspective, historically based conversation. And from my point of view, I'm going to be presenting facts. For us, for me, it is not about whether Liberia belongs or should be. We are looking at the facts. Before I go to Mr. Aliu Kamara, let me read Article 2 of the American Colonization Society's Objectives and View and Mission. While we think about it, then I'll welcome Mr. Aliu Kamara. The word colony, colonization, Liberia, and the reads, the Constitution of the American Society for Colonizing the Free People of Color and the United States. And it says, Article 2, the object to which its attention is to be exclusively directed is to promote and execute a plan for colonizing with the consent the free people of color residing in our country, the United States, in Africa or such other places as Congress shall deem most expedient, and the society shall act to effect this object in cooperation with the general government of the United States, and such of the state as may be adopted regulation upon the subject, January 1818. Let me welcome Aliu Kamara. Aliu Kamara, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Mr. Gilman, thanks for having me. It's a very interesting topic. I hope we just understand that it is only a matter of, like you said, retrospecting. What remains a fact is that we are a united Liberia, and that shall always be the case. But that does not necessarily mean that we can only see the good side of the history and not see the bad side. I think both things can be true at the same time. Liberia was not colonized on the basis of what most people understand, like it's a European power, like when Africa was distributed in the 19th century among European powers. Liberia was not one of those countries that was directly affected. But by all definition of the word colonization, Liberia was definitely colonized. There is no doubt if you define the word colonization in a dictionary, few people taking over resources of a nation and doing with it what they want. And even when the American colonization got out of the picture, Liberia was still colonized, and that was an apartheid form of colonization Liberia had. Less than 5% of the population governed the country. Indigenous Liberians were not citizens of Liberia, but they were taxed. In 1904, Arthur Berkeley offered some kind of option to indigenous Liberians. If you pay taxes to the central government, we will consider you citizen. If you drop your culture, this happened in 1904, it is written. If you drop your cultural practices and join Christianity and use Western civilization as your culture, I'll make you a Liberian citizen. That doesn't sound like a country that wasn't colonized to me. Fast forward in 1910, they seen Arthur Berkeley, taxation without representation. Those things they're simpler than anybody can define it. Liberians were not represented under Arthur Berkeley. Indigenous Liberians were not citizens of Liberia, but yet they were forcing them to pay taxes. It was not until 1946 when the unification policy of Tubman, William Buchanan Cedric Tubman, included verbally that everybody in Liberia, born in Liberia, are Liberian citizens. Imagine from 1822 to 1946, and you tell me that is not apartheid, 5% of the population most indigenous who had their way through God. I know there are other ways people would try to massage it and say, oh, people just wanted to change their name to be part of this, to be part of that. It's good for us to explain the sweet part. And no doubt, the American Liberians did some wonderful things that we are enjoying after their reign. But if they were still in power today, we will still be under apartheid arrangement. Okay, there was discrimination on the basis of name because we all look the same. You cannot identify whether I'm Congo or I'm Madingo. So I come to you and say I'm J. Nuclear Davidson. What will you say? You can't force me to be Madingo. So as a result, we even discriminated on the basis of names. So when Tao said some of those things about culture and stuff, he was being random, but the facts are written in Liberian history around the world that under Arthur Berkeley, you could only become citizen if you drop your culture and you drop whatever African spirituality you were involved with and became a Christian. It was a policy of that government. It took up to 1986 for citizenship in Liberia to even be defined. Up to 80%, not even 100%, 80, 90%. It was again George Weah with this, the dual citizenship bill that kind of closed that gap and even left some more questions because those who were in authority at the time were not considering those who they met on the ground to be citizens. And when let's talk about the American Colonization Society. We say they didn't colonize Liberia. The very first official governor of Liberia, Thomas Buchanan, was appointed by the American Colonization Society. There were boards in the United States sitting over Liberian issues, running Liberia as a business. I know somebody said, okay, all the other counties were not attached, but they were not.
But that's a very important thing, Aliu. That was just the coastal land you're talking about. You're not talking about
I'm coming
different
there.
counties.
I'm coming there.
So it's crucial. The point you mentioning right now is very important.
Yeah,
everybody else was living the way they wanted to live.
I'm coming there. It is easy to say it that way because when you say it that way, you profuse things and you just muddy the water. But the truth is, there were chiefs and elders in the Monserrato area, the Bomi County area, the Bapuru area, who submitted to the government on ground through their leaders. And some of those leaders, they not only create township, some of those leaders control almost half a counties or sometimes even more when you talk about Peter and other people. So we cannot just say it was just on the coastline. It is deeper than meets the eye. So we can't, again, when that man left from there, who did they appoint? They appointed Joseph Jingin Ravel in 1841. Everything was done outside of the general public. It was only for the less than 5% of the citizenry. That is the definition of apartheid.
Good. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, we have still not, I don't want you to go away from the definition and the mission of the ACS. The mission of the ACS is to purchase a piece of land to colonize for free Black people. That was the mission. And the scope was to be defined by what Congress says here. It is written in Article 2 of the ACS. Even the governors that were appointed, Thomas Buchanan, all of these folks, these are men and women from the American government that were there.
You're white.
Actually, so what I mean, we can say yes for us, and I agree with what Jimmy is saying, that we, amidst everything else, we were trying to be human beings because here we were not. We understand that. But the process of us making us human beings, the process to colonization, as it is said, you can call it NGO, you can call it by any other name, but the name of the organization, the American Colonization Society. And their mission is to purchase the land to colonize and usher in, tutor, mentor, until they are ready to be governed. It says there that until they are ready or they can be self-governed. Until then, the United States govern it. Yeah, go ahead, Tao.
Yeah. So, this is the problem that we have. Nobody wants to be honest, to really deal with the truth. That I said things that were not factual. What did I say that was not factual? Is it not true that a bunch of guys that were foreigners, only the difference in color, complete Americans came in, seized the place, used arms to take over the area? And if we want to say that Buchanan, it was just that little area, but the foundation that was established there was what spread. And when the Africans in the Southeast decided that they know we're not going to join you, we're going to govern ourselves, what happened? They took guns and they went and started to raid the villages and towns and murdering people. It's well documented. Where's the lie? The people in the hinterland, do you know, like Kamara just said, why they submitted, why they started sending people? Because the trade that was on the coast, trading in African artifacts and other stuff and craft were coming in, and there was the link between the coastal area and the hinterland. The American Liberian came and seized the entire coast. So they cut off the people from the hinterland. They were left with nothing else
That
but
is
to
not
negotiate.
factual. That's
Yes.
not factual. Not the
Yes.
entire coast.
So
Portions
so-
of the coast. That's the fact. The wrong
Okay.
information I'm talking
Okay,
about.
so this is the area here, but you want to mention stuff like that Labrador never going to be, that we're trying to be human being. The Africans were already human being. The Africans, in fact, have vibrant civilization and economy. It was the American Liberian that left the plantation that had nothing. They had nothing. The only thing they had was the desire and the mind to commit crime. That's it. That's
What a
all they
crime.
had.
What's the crime?
Taking over people's land, excluding them, establishing your governing system that does not belong there, and then excluding them, 4% of the population for over 100 years. Are you saying that is not a crime? That is a crime. We cannot look, Jimmy. You see, because I always hear this. Each time the topic come up, I will hear that no more Congo people. But this is the Congo attitude that I talk about. Each time you hear this, it's the very people, most of the time,
Let's make this thing fun, Taro. Let's make this thing fun.
System. Eh? No. They will start saying, "Oh, there was no." Look. You see, when we come to a Congo issue, there will be somebody that want to make excuse in the face of all of the evidence. When we come to progressive issue, somebody want to make excuse in spite of all of the overwhelming evidence. So we never get anywhere. Guys, look here. Jimmy, like me and you, we are brothers. And everybody else. But look, if we are willing for us to admit, look, me, I operate not from no partisan perspective, not from no tribal perspective. I operate from an African position. So if we can admit, look, this thing was wrong, then we say, okay, since it was wrong and we are on the foundation now, how do we move ahead? If we come to progressive, we say, my man,
but Tabo, this is not about wrong or right. The question here is whether this place was colonized, and the answer is yes.
Yes, it was colonized.
Listen, the record reflect that. Let me go to some of the things. You don't have to be knocked on the head and put in chains to be colonized.
But we're putting chains, actually.
But listen,
that is another misconception.
Listen to this. The colonization that we are talking about, Liberia, was even worse. Because just imagine the name, the flag, our pledge of allegiance, the Constitution, everything was written outside of the country. Everything we talk about, our governance system, everything was outside of the country. That is colonization. As we speak today, when we talk about the dual currency, when you mention the attempt to even get rid of the US dollar, they will basically kill you.
Yeah.
So how much more colonization do you need? Everything about us, Go into Monrovia, go to your Capitol Hill and see whether that is the capital of Liberia or the capital of the United States.
Yeah, that Monrovia. Monroe.
Okay, look at the building. Look at our Capitol building. Look at everything. Look at your flag. Look at everything. How much more do you want? It walks like a duck. It talks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. The feet look like duck. The beak looks like duck. Everything is duck. Only you say this is goat.
So let me just rest on this real quick, right? So everything that you just explained and which we have explained, this is the road that Liberia colonized, and Liberia is still colonized, and we have to decolonize the country in every aspect. And this is why I continue to mention the system. We need to decolonize, deconstruct, and decolonize every aspect: the education, the governing system, the judicial system, culture, everything. It needs to be decolonized. This is not, no, I'm saying it's wrong. We have to admit that it's wrong, because it is this wrong path that we are constantly on. We're still trying to make it work. And even the way in which it came to existence was through bloodbath. Man, my own grandfather, I was very young. My mom, they were young when the Liberia frontier force arrived in our chiefdom. My grandfather is put in chains, and they take these 2 sticks, put it on his shin, and they have 2 screws, press it until he pee himself, because he must provide $4 per hut.
Where was that chiefdom?
In Grand Bassa County, number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Menwin chiefdom, yes. And it was not just the only place. It spread all over the place. That my mom and everybody, my uncle that's in Florida now, he's 70 years old. He was a little boy, they would all be crying, running around, and they're trying to raise this money, selling chicken and everything else. This is real.
Okay.
So the way we try to resolve these things is to admit that, look, the way in which it happened was wrong, or maybe that is the only thing that they knew how to do, because that is all that they have lived under here. Let us admit that.
100%, Mr. Howell.
Yes.
100% I agree with you. There are things that were wrongly done. 100%. And like I said, there was no playbook. But let's distinguish the path that was set for us, and how it had given us some benefits. We don't, they're not necessarily the things that were wrong, but are we in a better place now? Will we be better if we were part of Guinea now? Will we be better if we were
I think that's a different conversation.
No, that's a different discussion.
No, because arguably, as many of the Sahel nations are proving, we still under colonization. Those other countries are still under colonization.
Yeah.
The people still have their money. They tell them what to do. They have to first, all the resources have to go through France or go through their colonizers before they can even sell it. So they're still colonized.
But that have nothing to do with the Liberian story, as we are talking about.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. We have to take a unique.
Listen, guys, I don't want us to get away. Let me go to Aliu.
Yes, sir.
The topic here is not whether it was right or wrong. The idea it was whether Liberia was ever colonized.
Yeah.
And the history and everything else that has to do with colonization, including the mission and the vision of the American Colonization Society, with the backing of the United States government to go ahead. It was funded, it was defended, it was everything about this is colonization, and they have it. Even when you look at the episode of Captain Stockton, okay, that put his gun to the head of the Bassa chiefs.
Yep.
That, listen, you got to give us this land. And then they wrote a beautiful poem about it. Having you sold your land and accepted payment. We all recited that. So it is not about whether it was wrong or right, but people try to say that we were never colonized, and that's not true. We were colonized. This is the argument here. Go ahead, Leo.
And because we don't know that we were colonized, that's why we're still
No,
very.
we are in denial. That's what it is.
A lot of people don't know, and that's why we are in a very fresh colonial season. We in the entire Africa, we are the only one that are still freshly colonized. It's because of ignorance. Now, some of the proponents, historical proponents for the American Liberian, and don't get me wrong, I'm very appreciative of the American Liberian and their existence and their contribution. I believe that they did a lot of good things, whether it was done without their knowledge or out of ignorance. But what they did for the indigenous Liberians was better than any other apartheid anywhere. All of my grand ancestry property and lands, traditional tribal lands, was secure, totally secure. I can show you a deed from Tubman, with my grandmother and her husband's name on it, where Tubman signed as a tribal land that belonged to that family, and nobody could touch it. Okay? Those are some of the sweet things. But as we say the sweet things, we gotta also say the mistake. And that's the only way we go forward. Some of the people who want to monitor the water will say, oh, the country was not together, it was just small portion with this and that. But don't forget, the Gola chiefs and Gola warriors fought the British. That's why Sierra Leone covered Bomi County. The Madingo chiefs and the Kisi chiefs in the Congo Confederation fought the French. That is why the French are only able to take up to Masado and other places. That is why we have small portion of Liberian land that is occupied by Madingos today. Because all of the Madingo land would have been in France if they didn't resist. They said they were Liberians. How did they know they were Liberians if nobody from central government was engaging with them? So a lot of time people try to muddy the water on these things. Liberia have always been even beyond the 43,000 square miles. Because of some laziness, we lost some of those things. But let us not buy into the argument that every county was autonomous. Yeah, you can say that. It's easy. That is very easy to defend. It's very easy to provide evidence for. But so sometimes they're more than actually meet the eyes in the history. And we cannot debate. I don't want to even talk about the history from all those things to define what colony is. Just take the dictionary, Webster dictionary, just look at colonization. Liberia fits right in.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen,
let me
so
come in.
The next question would be, if we say we were never colonized, then why were we declaring independent, and from whom were we declaring independent? Jimmy, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. I think the best way one way we could go about it to say Liberia was never ruled by European colonial power.
There you go.
Okay. However, there was, and this is why it looks so shady and muddy. Let's come to the nitty gritty. It was purposely done that way. When the ACS was created, the American Colonial Society, hear that word, colonial.
That's right.
When it was created, the purpose of its creation was to provide a passage or a way for free African Americans and other enslaved African people who wanted to go back to Africa, to give them passage. It also enabled those people who seeking to flee the situation in America, the life in America, who have free passage. But the people who formed the ACS did not want the U.S. government directly to be involved, even though members of the Senate, even the president, were all part of the formulation and the governing of this ACS. But because America did not want to show that they're the ones who doing it, that the government was doing it, that's why they set up the American Colonial Society. Just so it couldn't be said the American government did it. That's why it looks so muddy.
Yeah.
So when they declared their independence, there's certain there's certain things can be said, okay, about their independence. They said first, all people are entitled to liberty. That was there. Governments derive legitimacy from the consent of the governed. Africans deserve the same rights as Europeans. No people should be permanently subjected to another race or nation. Now, yeah, let me go to the contradictions that Mr. Tao pointed out very well. Okay, although they proclaimed liberty and equality, the reality was more complicated, right? The settlers who founded Liberia, became the dominant political class. Let's put this on the table. Many indigenous people living in Liberia, right, were not represented in the founding government. They were not represented. They did not initially enjoy the same political rights. They were incorporated into a republic gradually, often without meaningful participation in national decision making. That is the contradiction. They didn't immediately include everybody in the politics, in the running of the government, and we can admit why. Because Africans living in Africa had a completely different outlook on a whole lot of things. In Africa, you don't buy land. The land belongs to the tribal people. These people come in with ideas of selling land, buying land. So it had to take a cultural coming together. That okay, what we will accept among us so we can become one people. They couldn't incorporate everybody once. It wouldn't happen because they have different ideals, different beliefs of life, and it would take time before it amalgamates into one type of belief, like the Liberian we see today. It takes time. It just doesn't happen. So you can understand why it wouldn't happen immediately. Okay, it wouldn't happen immediately, and for us to say it was forced, there were incidences where history records. I'm not sure if it's just folklore where it shows chiefs were forced, but a lot of other parts of Liberia voluntarily became part of Liberia because they prefer. We talk about places in the southeast that they prefer being with Liberia than being under French rule, and gradually we became the Liberian you see today. There is no American Liberian today. They have people who have descendancy from different places. I have all these descendancies in me. My roots go down to Riverside and Grand Bassa, the place you're talking about. But we are a different, as a whole now, we are a different Liberia today. And that it takes time and for that to have happened. Now, what we need to appreciate about this 2026 Independence Day, that we have reestablished law and order. That the chaos that went on from 1990 to 2000, 2003, 2004, we are now back on track, and now we can appreciate, what the initial ideas were, recognizes the ills that were done, and how best we can proceed as Liberians of today. What is our identity today, and how we can express ourselves and move forward. But there, yes, I totally agree.
Well, guys, the question here, we don't want to go after what happened and all of that. That is not the topic. The topic here was Liberia colonized?
Mr. Gilman.
Yes, and I want to read this to you now. Let me read this.
Okay.
I was talking about Captain Stockton. Captain Robert Fields Stockton of the U.S. Navy helped secure the land purchased that led to the creation of Liberia, operating alongside Dr. Eli Ayers of the American Colonization Society in 1821. Stockton used aggressive negotiation, including threat of gunpoint, to force local West African leaders competed to sell a strip of land on Montserrat coast. Stockton mission was commanded by the U.S. Navy. The schooner Alligator off the west coast of Africa, tasked with helping the ACF find a permanent settlement location after initial attempt to Shepherd Island failed due to diseases. Stockton and areas identified Cape Montserrat, the site of modern-day Monrovia, as a strategic viable location for settling free African Americans. When the local Bassa chief competed, initially resisted finalizing the land sale agreement, account note that Stockton used severe intimidation, including leveling a pistol.
It just pointed to Peter here. Peter said, okay, I agree.
That's right. Right? You know, you take it fire, you fire over here, boom, you get the okay, my man. But this is what we are saying. We are not talking about the administration, we are not talking about the people, because we all know people have to make a living, they have to establish something they didn't have, and we know all of that, but that is not it here. The question here was, were we colonized? And the question
I think we've already established that fact, that it's not deniable. It's just not something that anybody can dispute unless you want to reject the fact. Liberia was a colony. Oh, we will say, okay, it was a society, but it wasn't the American government. But that's how colonization took place. Look at the Niger Company. Niger Company was the one that colonized Nigeria. Nigeria was a corporation. It was a business. In fact, they even sold Nigeria at some point for a simple, I think, $800,000. Nigeria was a company. That's how they did, and that company was out of Great Britain. It was the same thing as American colonization started. American colonization started had access to Liberia's resources. That's colonization. There's no other definition of colonization. Liberia fits right in.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, we spent an hour on the first topic, and that's fine. So we want to go to our second topic here, which is we agree that at some point, people like Ali Kamara, Dr. Tao, Dr. Jimmy Eastman, I call everybody doctor because we are doctor in our own right. We need to get together and rewrite our history to make things happen. Because at the time the history we're writing, you're talking about folks who came and they wrote what they saw, their own experiences and everything. Even my own name, gave me the way it is spelled. Okay? When the missionaries came and when my great-grandparent became Methodist, the way the name sounded, gave me, they spelled it by syllables, just the way they understood it. But when you look at the name, how it is sound, when you go in the interior, it totally sounds different from the way it is spelled. So we cannot go back now and say we blame them because of the way they spell it. That was what they knew. So now that we know better, we now need to have like a constitution.
At least they taught us how to spell, right?
That's correct.
There you go.
So now we need now to get together and say, you know what, these guys did the best they could with all they had. Now that we know a little different, let's make some correction. And down the road, that's what history is all about. It's about revision.
When you are colonized mentally, it's difficult. Go tell Liberian man about cheating, something you see, they'll just say, man, I think
but that's why we are here having the conversation. That's why we are here. So guys, the next one is the drug epidemic in the Republic of Liberia. We have been talking about this for ages, and people were in denial. It became political. When you talk about it, say, oh, it is, nobody wants you to talk about it. You say, oh, George Weah. You talk about it, say this person. You talk about it now, Joseph Boakai. Instead of just the way we are bloviating, right, going around the colonization society thing. We have a drug issue. Instead of us talking about it, we are here finding excuses and blaming it on everybody except the epidemic itself. We have a drug issue in the Republic of Liberia. And lately, you have been seeing what It's happening. We've been talking about some serious drug, and everybody wants to politicize it. Now, 2026, July, the UN Department of Drug came up with this. Liberia is being highlighted as a crucial transit hub in West Africa due to the escalating transnational cocaine trafficking network, a chronically underfunded security sector, and the exploitation of the maritime and aviation infrastructure. The UN Office of Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and recent regional events pinpoint several key reasons why Liberia is so prominent. And it went down the road and it go down, 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 down. And Liberia has now been targeted as a transnational drug hub. Not only are they finding cocaine in large quantity, but they are finding drums of meth. That means the capability of now not only transiting, but manufacturing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me start with this time. Let me start with Aliyu Kamara. Aliyu Kamara, this is serious business. We are in trouble.
Yeah, Mr. Gamer, we are in trouble. I'm really appalled. Believe you, when I saw the station in the Broadway area, this guy's had a whole administration over there. This guy had a whole department. You had a storage department. They had all things over there, man. And I was appalled. Why were the security? Because I started, they didn't put it there 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
It's been there for a very long time.
The NSA are getting all this money.
Yeah, the NSA. Millions go to the NSA. You're telling me right under your nose in Burrowville, there's a whole structure of a drug embassy or drug company. Whether they're processing it there, or whether they're manufacturing it there, or whether they're packaging it there, how did they get there? And how come all these years you allowed them to establish so solidly without your knowledge? So I'm thinking there are big hands involved. I don't want to go with the conspiracy theory that Liberia is a narco state, because it takes a lot more than that.
But my friend, the United Nations has
No. I've been searching for that. But I've been searching for that all over the internet, where the United Nations officially call Liberia a narco state. I still haven't found it yet.
You are looking for a particular word to say.
No. When the United Nations declares something, it goes worldwide. It goes on the internet. It goes on the.
I put it in the website. The report is there.
I saw what you put in there, and I still got to do my own research. I cannot authenticate what you put in there, because on the United Nations page, I didn't find it either. I think this is whatever you put over there was an opinion of someone in the UN. But this cannot. I'm coming, Mr. Gilman. And everybody on here can tell me if they actually went and did their own research and said that it is a decision by the United Nations that Liberia is a narco state. Please bring that document out. The one that you put over there doesn't say that. Now, what I want to make clear here is Liberia is drowning. If nothing is done at this particular moment, this is the 11th minute. At this particular moment on the drug issue, if nothing is done, drastically done, then Liberia will be in some serious dilemma.
Mr. Tawo,
Yes.
the UN is UNODC World Drug Report. It's right here. The link is there. When you tap on the link, it goes to it and it tells you that. The analysis is all there. It will tell you why, it will tell you when, it will tell you, they listed everything. Okay. So for us, it is the same thing we've been talking about, our colonization, right? It is written, it is there.
No, it doesn't say, it is not a declaration on Liberia. I read it, man.
You see, he's looking for.
When it declares, it becomes the UN policy, and then they push it. But it's not
listen,
there.
listen.
This is
There is nowhere in the world where the UN is going to say this person will declare you a narco state. That's not what it says.
But that's the policy.
It says in the report, the UN report, officially says that Liberia is highlighted as a critical transit hub in West Africa due to escalating. It is a hub.
That's what I read.
So
what you have,
you
what I read doesn't say Liberia is a narco state. That's a definite statement.
No, there is no such thing as narco state. They are telling you that your country is now critically
We know that already.
unestablished, and they got a proof. So you're talking about they didn't give you a declaration,
No.
even though you are caught. They say you embezzled.
That was that analysis.
Because you said. They say I'm not a role because they call me an embezzler. I embezzle. So
But that's not what they say either.
Taiwo,
Yeah.
and you want to say embezzlement, and theft? They are not the same. They are. But go ahead, Taiwo.
Okay, so look at what happened here. I don't take the UN seriously. The UN is a political organization of Western leaning. That is why they established it to try to legitimize themselves. How did they define narco state? They say what, a state that sell drugs?
We are not.
Yeah. But even because if they're going to define that, what do they call the United States of America? What label did they give them? How did they bring them? Because they actually sold drugs to fund wars. The UN doesn't say anything about them. So I really, the UN have no credibility in my book. Because but this is what I would say.
No, Mr. Taiwo, so let's stick to the point here.
Yeah, but this is what, let me get to the point now.
Listen, they highlighted the $19 million drug. They highlighted
that's no news.
Mm-hmm.
We are not, listen, we talk about facts here now. Yeah. We're talking something that is factual. They are listing all of these things that you and I know. You cannot debunk it. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I saw that Liberia had the largest drug bust, and like for the last 2 days, I did a comparison analysis, like where I went in the United States here, where they're busting $1 billion, $1.2 billion, all of this stuff. Where is the label? So it don't mean that the drugs should be in Liberia, but I'm just saying I don't place emphasis on those because they use those just for them to control and influence stuff. But this is what I would say though. In Liberia, the drug issue is a major issue that needs to be dealt with. And I don't want us to politicize this because I was on the show last night and the other person will come that boycott at this, and then you just see them going back and forth and caught up into all the party politics because the other group want to make the boycott government look bad so that then he's removed so that they can come in and order this stuff. This stuff go beyond one government. They're trying to blame the boycott government for people inside the DEA or the NSA being connected in the drug stuff. The institution established, these guys were already there before Boyka came to power. So because if we start trying to do the nitpicking and all the division, then we really never solve the problem. So when national issue like this come up, we need to put aside all the political bickering so we can actually tackle this problem to find an actual solution. Honor Elling, they didn't do no bust like that. They did some here and there, and nobody even got arrested. Honor Weah, nobody got arrested.
Yes, people got arrested. But
Honor Boyka. We may say that we have some reservation. I have some reservation on maybe what may happen, whether the people get persecuted. But we have to give them some credit that they are actually making moves. They were able to find these drugs. Yeah, we can say they might not persecute these people so easily, and it's not only in Liberia, but that much drug was pulled. somebody wanted to say here that the drug that they found around RIA was just by accident, that lady was not, she didn't know the program, it was not the government that found it, and then I asked the question. So this lady was trained by the Liberian government in the security sector. She was placed in that position. She's paid by the government, and she found the drugs. And you're saying that it was not the government that found it just because she was not paid off. What you're getting up to?
No, you're getting it wrong, because the lady does not work for the government. She worked for the King brothers and their company, and that company has been basically fired. That company is gone. So
the lady that found the drug,
they all gone.
For the King company.
Yes.
The lady that
yes.
sat on the X-ray machine.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but the government gave them contract.
They gave them the contract.
Okay.
And
so they have to meet.
They lost the contract. They're all gone.
Yeah, but Jerome, they have to still meet the security requirement clearances. So even at that, is the government trusting their ability based on the resume and put them there? What I don't want us to get caught up into is that trying so hard to tie something, people even start to speculate that, but because some guy that they listed was standing near Boyka doing some kind of campaign, so maybe Boyka campaign money, yeah, that's a possibility. But when we start trying to do those things, then we go away from trying to solve this problem, because the problem is major. And look, I'm one of the critics here. I don't believe in the government. I just believe in if they do something the right way. The Boyka government is trying. They came in, they met a system in. Yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff that money, all this stuff, but for the drug stuff right here, we have to say it happened. If the drug had gone through and they gone to Europe, then before they find out, we're going to be blaming Boyka that why they didn't catch it. Now they caught it. We are saying that, oh, they didn't catch it on time.
But Tawo, you mixing the whole thing up. Even the police chief himself said on May the 26th, a segment of the drug went to Europe. So what we are saying here is, listen, what people are saying here, if we are going to address this, it has to be holistically done. That means people are saying, including Radney's here, other people who do investigation, they are saying there are big hands in this, and for this to be solved, those names and those hands need to be exposed to dismantle the cartel.
That is true.
That's what we are saying.
I agree with you on that, because I was reading something and I listened to the police RG. Okay, here it is, the guy that is pretty much your top guy received $10,000. He admitted. So he's actually tied into it. The police chief want to pass it along as he was just implicated in obstructing. And I'm like, where is the Justice Department? These are the areas that we must address. And these are the areas that the president actually need to act. Because you can't allow Gregory Coleman to come over there. And then when he start to say that the guy received $10,000, but it don't mean that he actually knew about the drug, but that is equivalent to his obstruction of active investigation that they recommended him to how you call it, professional unit of the police, so that they can question him. He is now a person of interest here, and he's making these statements. And I'm waiting for him to hear from the president on stuff like this. It makes me to start speculating, what does Gregory even know about this drug? Because if you are even trying to pass this along as mere just interfering, this guy took bribe. So he directly took this stuff to move the drugs.
Well, this is what we are talking about. During the Ellen administration, there were $500 million that were busted. Under George Weah, there were $100 million that were busted. Under Joseph Boyka was $19 million, then $317 million. This is quite evident that this is not an administrative stuff. This is endemic. We are talking about people that are here, and instead of going after that, we are going after administration. It's not administration. It is the people. It's the system. Let me go to Jimmy Eastman. This is the people. They allow the politicians to fool them by saying this is a CDC or a Unity Party. No, it is a systemic. This is what it says, state capture. That means for these people to build buildings, to build substations, to build warehouses. These things don't happen overnight. This is systemic. And until we deal with this, and they keep throwing around, what your government did, what my government did, these people are going to thrive. Just imagine, we had the port of Buchanan. They got no security, basically. We got the port of Sino, Greenville, has no security. Maryland County, Harper, has no security. We are just talking about just a tiny one in Monroe, right there by the seacoast. The whole country, nobody talking about it. It's all being politicized. It is that person, that person. Go ahead, Mr. Eastman.
Yeah. We have to be honest with ourselves when we're looking at this issue. The most important resource to combat drug trafficking is political integrity. No, your foreign national, they can give you equipment, they can give you everything, but if you don't have the political will to combat this drug trafficking, it will not succeed. Now, as much as we've successfully busted these shipments, we have 400 million and the other from 19 million. But what will be the true test is how we pursue conviction, how we gather all those involved and connect them, how if we're able to confiscate their properties and the monies that they receive. That is going to be the true test of our integrity. And so we know things have happened in the past, but let's leave the past. Let's talk about the current. What is going to become of this case? I think I'd rather look at this case than look at what other people have done before. Are we going to have convictions? Are we going to see some people walk away? Are we going to be able to follow the money to the source of where all this comes from? Are we going to see more convictions? It is great that we're seeing those who in law enforcement are being exposed. But is this the end? Or are we going to get to the kingpins? Because it is rumored that even people in the higher places in government might be aware. So I think we can commend them for the bust, just like you can commend some. I would say, okay, my man, you won't put you on the football team, come to practice. Okay, you have come to practice. But now here it is the hard work now. The hard work is going behind the culprits, finding out what their network is, finding out where their sources is, and bringing them to justice. We've seen this thing happen over and over again. People walk free. But I honestly believe this is a good step, but it's only a first step. And if it's not curtailed, being the magnitude of the kind of money we're talking about, it can have a cancerous effect on the Liberian economy and people. Because with welding this kind of money in a country who's what is the average average Liberian live on a day? $2 a day. Yep. Can you imagine how this might affect them? So what we're looking for now is to see the political integrity of our people to combat this issue, or we may become the very narco state. I don't think Liberia is a narco state at this time. We're being used for transshipment. But a narco state is when the state itself is involved in the trafficking of drugs and things. This is not state involvement. We may have some people that are involved, but this is not like a case where it is systematic that we are indulging in drug trafficking like other narco states.
Aliu, when President Waga came to power, he appointed his director and the deputy director, LGEA, for administration. And in his first press statement. He said, I have to be honest, not verbatim, but he says, to fight drug in Liberia, our administration has to be strong because the judiciary is involved, the executive is involved, the legislature is involved, and prominent families in Liberia are involved. This is an honest man. 2 days later, he was fired. So today, here we are. We are hearing the $19 million. The government said those that were involved, the 6 names that were involved, will not be divulged for security reasons. Those folks, we don't know who they are, even though there did some arrest. Those names have not come out. Then the 370 million, Rodney here asked the question, who owns all these properties that are being used? Who owns these houses? Who owns these properties that are being used? These names have to be divulged. We have to know the names of these folks that own these properties. Up to now, the government have not told us who owned those land. I know somebody has to purchase the land. They have to they have to survey the place. They gotta have a deed. They gotta something, but nobody knows what's going on here, Mr. Ali.
Mr. Gilman, the guy you're talking about is the team of folks that replaced Mr. I just forgot his name. He's from the American Embassy. That replaced them. That's the deputy director you're talking about. In no time where he said that the judiciary,
yes,
the legislative,
yes,
and the executive were involved. He didn't say that. Let me tell you what he said. He said, in this country, any branch of all the branches of government, there are people there who are involved with drugs. He didn't say the judiciary was. When you say that, you're trying to force this your perception that Liberia is actually a narco state, and you will not do it by distorting the information. Now, you say 6 people the last time governments kept their need, didn't present their need. That's not true. That's how King was arrested. That's how they went after the Browns, the one that escaped from all 6 names were listed. Right? And the police had a whole press conference after those charges were filed on Saturday, that Saturday. Everybody's name were announced by the police inspector general, Gregory Coleman. I'm just trying to close this little thing that you're doing deliberately to twist this thing. Okay, the issue of the investigation. You said they have the keeping the name of the owners of the property and blah 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 blah. Then if they start telling you everything, that means they're not investigating anymore. That means they already got all of the evidence. So like I said to many people prior to the recent drug saga, the 317 million plus, you gotta wait for the government's time. They have a timeline, they have their timeline, they have their profession. Just like you are a sociologist, and I can't come from anywhere, I can't tell you about sociology. You tell me, say, I'll leave from here, man. And that's the same thing with you and the security apparatus. You weren't there. You didn't show them where the $300+ million drop was. They told you. They went and got it and told you we got it. So wait for them. If you trusted them, then trust them now on this.
Honorable Aliu, I was just able to pull out that press release from the gentleman name is Gwee, Gwee Fokpa, former Deputy Director General for Administration. Listen, Deputy General for Administration of the Liberian Drug Agency, LDA, explicitly stated that individuals within the executive,
individuals within, that's what it said.
Listen, the executive, legislative, and judicial branches.
But you're proving my point. Why are you spending time on that?
Involved in illicit drug trade. So
and we agree. Some people are there.
Listen, but this is what we are talking
about.
Not
the judiciary branch.
No, listen.
Okay.
If people within the judiciary, if they compromise, not only that, But the U.S. State Department report said it, that the judiciary in Liberia is compromised.
It said the judicial. Anyway, man, let's go ahead.
Okay,
Stop
so
making things
here we
up here.
are. You got he said the executive, people within the executive, people within the judiciary, people within the legislature, and prominent families in Liberia.
And it will always be that way.
That's not my point. Okay?
In
And
my
it says,
family, I can steal. Someone pass on
listen,
ahead.
Mr. Eastman, this is what we are talking about when we say, for us to fight this drug thing, we have to be honest, we have to have integrity, and we have to be bold. It goes beyond an individual. It has powerful folks in every branch of government and prominent families in Liberia, prominent families. So this is what we are talking about. As long as we use the Tip O'Neill methodology and philosophy, everybody loves their own crooks. If you are in the judiciary, you protect the judiciary. If you have families in the legislature, you protect the legislature. If you got friends in you protect the executive. But collectively, our nation, like the gentleman said, if we want to fight this drug, we got to be strong, because we got representatives in almost every part of the government, including some permanent families.
I totally agree. There is a method to fight it, but it's going to require all hands on deck. And because, to tell you the truth, the government and political leadership has the greatest responsibility. It lies flat on the responsibility of the political leadership, because when you talk about reinforcing border and port security, when you talk about investing in law enforcement and in investigations, when you talk about intelligence gathering, you talk about other anti-corrupt efforts, and then judicial effectiveness, okay, and of course public health and addiction treatment, because let alone it's transition, but this is also affecting the youth in our country, and so when you look at what has to be done, we know that government has to take the responsibility. Here's where we've been lacking, okay? Here's where we've been lacking. We as Liberians, do we have enough organizations? All of them are gainfully employed here. Mr. Tao is a class engineer. Mr. Aliyu Kamar, he too has gained a significant consideration in this country as a professional. What are we doing for the Liberians back home to rehabilitate them? Are we making enough contributions? You see, it's easy to say the government should do the government, but government cannot do this alone. Government needs the assistance of the people, and our ability to pool resources and help the government is going to determine how fast we get to where we want to go. You know, we don't have resources like you can say the government can abundant resources like iron ore, uranium, and all that. So it's going to require us, we Liberians in Liberia and outside Liberia, to do things to assist the administration get to where they want to go. And we shouldn't think it will happen in absentia. I mean, it will not. Government alone cannot do it. And I don't think we're going far enough. We're not doing enough to help rehabilitate our country, to help and do something that within our capability to do. And that is very important if we're going to be patriotic Liberians as we claim to be. If we were patriotic, our patriotism should show in how much we give to Liberia. You know, and so I'm all for government going into this. I realize that they have to have their integrity, but I also realize this is all hands on board. Everybody should be involved in this, and not sit back as spectators and watch these things go down. That's the only way we'll curb it. We ourselves have to be involved.
Well, I have to disagree with Honorable Isma on this. It is the state's responsibility. Aliyu Kamara can do the best he can that his family, his children, his nephew, they don't get involved into that because that's within his scope. He can afford to do that. I can do the same thing. That's my contribution to my country. That my 10 nephews and nieces, they do all I can to support them so they don't get involved. But when it comes to rehabilitation, I think Aliyu have said this here, there's no reason for someone to be driving a $100,000 car because he's a minister or deputy minister making that much money. If it's a collective effort, then everybody should put their hand, should have their skin in the game. If Aliyu come out making $10 a month over here and sending $3 home from his own work, then what about those who control the coffers? Why they can make a sacrifice too and say, you know what, we're gonna drive government jeep to work. After work, we take our car and go home. So we don't do that. But you get car every 2 years. They give you gas. They give you calling card. They give you house rent in your own home. That's crazy. Taiwo.
Yeah. So look at what happened. I was just about to speak to that. What Jimmy said. You already disagree with that aspect, and I agree with what he's saying in a structure, right? So Jimmy, you, me, Jerome, Leo, how can we just show up in Liberia with the drug issue? How do we help? Where's the government policy? Where the infrastructure that they set up that guys like Aliyu then are in the medical field they can go and plug into? It doesn't exist. So what is he supposed to do? That is the difficulty. So we spoke here. I don't know if you're on a program last night, but I said the government have no plan. Not just this government, but the whole government system in Liberia. There is no infrastructure or strategy or policy set up on the end of the government for them to solve any real problem in the country. It doesn't exist. So you show up. Where you going to start? You're going to go ahead and start standing on Guerrilla Street to talk to the beginner. So you see, so the government need to set up to say, look, a lot of people, Liberians here, they can actually go and help. But this is what I said though, that the government should not, if the government was to move in that direction, they should not privatize rehabilitation. They should not. Because once you privatize it, you monetize it, you create profit around it. Let it be set up with.
What's that in the background?
Somebody.
Are you mute? Or Jimmy?
But I'm mute.
I got it.
So
Jimmy got it cut out. Go ahead.
Yeah, once you privatize it, you create profit around it. And once you create profit around it, it becomes very dicey. The government, then somebody said here that, private institutions are more effective. I said, no, that is a lie that they told you. Look at every area. If the government cannot run a common rehabilitation center, set up a program, then why is the government trying to run the country if they can be effective? So no, what the government need to do is they can pull on people that guys like you, Jerome, guys like Aliyu, them who are in the medical area, guys like Padmore, and you can help to set up the framework. The government must have control over the stuff to take profit out of it. They can subcontract you or they can hire you to then help train people in the country that work for the government. What that does is it runs a very smooth and effective system then for them to come in. I leave from here, I go set up my own rehabilitation center, it become profit. The next thing you know it, they try to solve the drug problem. Me and my family live in it. We start selling, we start pushing the drugs, right? So you can see that because you want for the problem to persist because your livelihood is attached to it. Once it's private and profit is around it, you see. But look, this is what I would say though, so I can close on this. I keep hearing here that in one of the other programs that they should start arresting suspects. Then we turn around and we say we want for them to be the government to be law abiding. So the moment they say the person is suspect or you want them to go and start arresting, then I start hearing the other one, confiscate properties, the house and all this stuff. We have to be very careful. What happens if you are in this country and you build your house and it's there and you lease it to a bona fide group and you don't know what they may be doing there? All of a sudden, because they find drugs, people in there, or they found somebody that is doing fake scratch card in there, or somebody that is doing fake DSTV stuff in there, they should go ahead and seize your building. Unless they can prove that the person who rented that place or leased that place is also part of the group. So we have to be very careful, because you push this kind of slippery slope. The next thing you know it, a government come in and they start doing targeted stuff and they start to seize properties all over the place. So the houses that they found the drugs in, the one the king guy, yeah, that's his own house and he actually was in the house. So that's a different case. Now, if they can prove that maybe one senator owned the house or the police intelligent guy, that was his house, and then he was taking 10,000, then those things are different. And but to close this is what we said about lifestyle audit and like how you call this again, Jimmy, or the asset declaration. If the asset declaration was done to where they were, because you can look and say, how come this minister that just came here, how does he have all these buildings? How did this senator get all this area? But you see, they don't want to do that. So how do you show up? Because how do you show up? You don't even know what somebody started with. How do you show up and start seizing their properties? So these are the difficulties. So these are the fundamental issues we should solve. But when it comes to the drug, the social aspect of it, the social issue has to be solved. If the social issue is not addressed, it will be very difficult to reduce. Because, Jerome, when me and you grew up, when we all here, we are old enough when we grew up, our parents could afford to feed us. So when they tell us, you better be in the house before 12 o'clock or in the afternoon when I come for lunch, you're going to be there. They send you to school, you listen to them. The entire social structure collapsed. The children are pretty much going out there and hustling for the parents. The children are all over the place. When you go to Liberia, you go there all the time. The children are all over the place with nothing to do until they can have hope. Because the only time you can be afraid for you to get in trouble if you see a future that, no, I don't want to mess up, because look at where I'm heading. Until those kind of paradigm exist, the drug issue, the usage, and all this stuff, it will just be difficult to deal with. So the representative senator, they need to cut their pay. They need to cut their pay. They need to take all that money, invest it into human development. They need to disband that house, though. That house don't need to be there. That House of Representatives and Senate, they're cash cow. They don't need to be there. Okay. We don't need them.
Good. Let's close on this one real quick. Everybody got about 3 minutes. And this one it shocked me again. Like I keep saying, the Ministry of Justice appealed to Jetty to help with rehabilitation. The Ministry of Justice. Just what we're talking here. Can you imagine the government of the Republic of Liberia, through the minister, says that the Ministry of Justice has renewed its appeal for stronger partnership to rehabilitate inmates at the Monroe City Prison, urging renowned businessmen and philanthropists, saying, widely known as Jetty, to support programs that will equip prisoners and skills, opportunities for reproductive life after incarceration, including rehabilitation. Jimmy, how is this possible that the government is asking an individual, well, just what you just said here, right? How do you come around, my man, you in Washington, D.C., you're making few dollars. Why don't you come and help this government transform our prison system and make them better citizens? In the meantime, you're not talking about, well, for you to do this, let me cut my pay, get back one of my cars, and instead of getting a new car every 3 years, we're going to keep the car until it breaks down. We leave all of that undone. We go as a private citizen to do what the government's supposed to do. This is what we are talking about.
You know, and I will owe that to we're doing things the way as if we're still in a war zone. You know, a lot of things we did, or the way Liberia had to come up because there was a serious breakdown in law and order. People didn't, and street lights were not working, so people didn't obey when they see the traffic light, they juggle. But now we've come to another point, whereas we're organized now, we're stable now, we have a almost 2 decades of stability plus. So now we need to do things differently. So Getty Brothers, yes, they have assisted the country before in certain things. Okay, so what we need to do now, something Mr. Tao alluded to just now, we need to create a structure, a system, a way that people can contribute and help a lot the agency or the various agencies in a way. There's a way to do this, and if you have, but you have to create the channel. You have to set the goals. You have to have that. You have to facilitate the communication and the ins and out of funds, so that they can do it. Not only SETI, but other people will be doing the same thing. But you have to create that system. It's not just we're still doing a thing ad hoc. It can't be ad hoc. We need to find a complete infrastructure that this thing can be facilitated by all people who want to help Liberia, not just only Liberians, not Liberians in the diaspora, Liberians who are local, and all friends of Liberia. That has to happen. But to do these things, what I've only noticed, and if I will add on criticism, you need professionals who know how to do this. I agree that people who supported you politically, you want to recognize them later on. But if you need a professional somewhere, get a professional, not a loyalist, because certain things a loyalist cannot do. It takes somebody with the experience and know how to do this. So, yeah, let's create a way for SETI brothers and whatnot to do this and facilitate the government instead of going directly to the individuals. Have that whole part of the government created for this to happen from time to time, and you have a more structured contribution to the country's welfare.
Well, Aliu.
Yes, sir.
You are a private citizen. You go to Liberia, you register your business legally, you pay your taxes, you meet all your demands. Then the government come to you, the ministry come to you and say, we want you beyond what you are doing to help us do our job. Isn't this abrogation of your title, your power? You're making one man that powerful in the state.
No, Mr. Game. I think you're getting things wrong. You got to first analyze our system. The thing you need to advocate for is the changing of our setup. We have a capitalist system, unfortunately. We have a free enterprise system. With a system like this, the government role in running things is very limited. Their main role is enforcement and making the rules. Unfortunately for us, we do not have the economic power, the capital, being a capitalist, we do not have the capital to take a lot of responsibilities from the hands of the government. Let's look at the United States, for example, that your people are emulate. The prisons are private. Don't you know that? The prisons are run by private companies. The government may have a police officer there, but the prison guy, all of those guys are trained by those companies. They don't necessarily work under the federal government or the state government. You got to understand that. So the government paid those people, and they are responsible to provide health care for the prisoners. They have all kinds of logistics, including food. The private companies do that in the United States. I know you know about that. So Liberia is on a similar system. And in order for the government to really function, we have to cut down, which is not going to happen, but I'm just saying, we need to cut down the amount of government employees and cut down government expenditure and push some of those things to private entities that can adequately run it, because it's easy for somebody else to take your burden and you pressure them to do the right thing, than for yourself to have to run prison, have rehabilitation centers, and all of those things. Rehabilitation centers in the United States, yes, they are under the government, but they are mostly autonomous because they appoint their own everybody. The rehabilitation agency of every state, they do their own appointment of their CEO and everything. The governor doesn't have to appoint anybody there. So we have similar system. It hasn't worked for us, and that's a different kind of argument we can have. But if we must follow the system to the letter, the Justice Ministry is doing nothing wrong, Mr. Goodman.
Mr. Taiwo, I
Yeah.
think, to me, this is the worst answer that they may have ever given. For the federal government to say, okay, Walmart, can you please come and run this thing for
But the
us?
prisons are private, I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
No, listen, that's not how it works, man.
Jerome, look at what happened here. In the first place, Leo was trying to make an excuse for the Justice Ministry or minister to the point where he brought in something that he used as an example. That is actually one of the things that is wrong with America, that is destroying this country, because the privatization of the prison is pretty much money laundering scheme, which people are now fighting that they want to get the prison back, because the state built the prison, take taxpayers' money, turn it over to themselves. The housing government, major corruption, force the judges to increase prison population. There are cases where judges have actually been found guilty.
Yeah, you need some evidence for that.
Yes, there are evidence. Then what happened? They say the prison then take these people. Do you know that it's slavery? They rent them out to the farm. So the prison system, the private prison, socialize their expenses and their losses and privatize the profit. So I just want to address that. So that is not even a good example. It's a bad one that we shouldn't even follow in Liberia. But look, okay, so JT is a private company. You asked this guy a very good question and he could not even answer it, because when you try to be political, you cannot be too rational. I leave from here and I'm a private guy. I come to Liberia. I set up my businesses. I'm paying my taxes. Then the government come to me and tell me that, hey, my man, you know what? We see that you have all of this money you are making. We want for you to take this aspect of this stuff and then finance it. So it don't make any sense. I'm just going to take my money and hand it over to some government officials that are driving all these cars, like Jerome, like you rightly said. They're not even going to my man, look, let's cut our benefits. Let's start buying cars. Let's start doing, they don't want to solve any of those problems, do that to get the money, because the money is actually there. So then what do I get out of it? This is where government start to sell out themselves to business people. That is exactly mortgaging the government right in front of our eye. A president that actually want to act supposed to fire that justice minister or reprimand him. Yes, because JT is not in Liberia. He's there to make profit. So now a JT brought in drugs. I'm just saying something. Who will question him? The Justice Department are supposed to, you're begging him. If he bring in anything in the country, remove anything out of the country, that JT stuff there, nobody can touch it. Okay? This is where we find ourselves. And so this is some serious stability. And the sad part is, these guys are from the U.S.
You're saying all these assumptions.
No, it's not assumption.
That's the fact. That's fact.
What assumption? It's not assumption. The guys are from the U.S. So when I keep hearing that we need to get more people from the diaspora to come and help, just I've become very confused, because these are the same guys that come from here. And look at what the way they operate.
Yeah, but they have to be vetted, even if they come from here.
Yeah,
you have to vet who they are.
Oh no, they have to be vetted. But
Jimmy,
the fact is that
everybody, everybody is vetted. You know that for the fact.
Yeah, they're vetted.
When it comes to the resume, all that, we have it. There's no problem. It's the performance.
Oh, those fake resume.
Listen,
some of those guys, they say they did this and that. Look, don't make me go off.
No, but Jimmy, listen. I know some of these guys that work in this United States with top corporation and done very well. But when they go home, I don't know what happens.
Yes. So because they get into a system, so you see, honesty usually depend on if there is punishment if you misbehave or if you go off track. So they go to Liberia, it's a free range, it's a wild west. So that is where you measure the character of a person. I heard a book once that said true character is not, I think, when you do things knowing that you'll be found out. It is when you do things knowing that you will not be found out, that is the true measure of the character. So when the guy gets to Liberia now, it's like nobody can touch him. That is why I propose here that us in the diaspora, if we really want to help Liberia, we're supposed to get together, whether it is whatever group, we're supposed to lobby the U.S. government, that U.S. residents or citizens going into Liberia with dual citizenship, trying to serve them. If they're caught up in the corruption, we should advocate for them to be persecuted under American law here. You'll find out very quickly that group will cut down. And when they go over there, if they were hired, they will behave. But they know the moment something happened, they run. So that is where, so Jerome, the guy, something is wrong with him. Okay? Something seriously wrong with him.
And he's a Columbia Law School graduate.
Yes.
Oscar Twe.
Mr. Gimman, Mr. Sal, I think the mistake you're making here in attacking this man is you think he did or he is doing something wrong. What I am telling you, he is not doing anything wrong, whether moral or legal. So you can't attack somebody when they're not doing something wrong just because you feel a certain way. Under Liberian law, that can be done. And he's a justice minister. He knows the law. If he applies the law in accordance to how it benefits him, why are you upset?
Yeah, benefit him.
Jimmy.
Listen, that is the point I'm coming to, benefit him. Because that is the next point I'm coming to. Here it is, Jimmy, we just discussed here. Where is a structure within which even JT Corporation will make the donation? What exact area?
It doesn't hurt for him to make a request. JT has not responded yet.
Don't make that kind of vague stuff. Where?
Jimmy.
The guy is trying, they just hand money over to them and they squander it in the name of trying, and they just jump around like kangaroo. That is what they're all doing. There is no structure. The structure is supposed to be set up.
Mental way, man. You didn't have things that don't just simplistically like that.
If we can make donation in this area or in this area.
Jimmy, real quick.
But it doesn't exist. Nothing exists. So what is it contributing to?
Jimmy, real quick, this is why most of us got terrible problem when we go to Liberia. So you say you're from America, say, oh, they're not coming again. And rightfully so. The reason that I would hire Jimmy Eastman in Liberia is not to be upside down like Kamara. You see how he's looking now? You see how you see.
What you do when you fool, man?
Kamara been in the country all this like we can side with, but Jimmy the reason look, it's just hard to talk when the man looking funny like that. But Jimmy, the reason I will hire you or they will hire me is to solve problem, right? The country has issues. We want you to come in, be innovative and creative in solving problems. Then you come in, instead of coming and saying, this is how we think the correction system should be working. You abrogate your entire power to a sovereign private entity, and he's going to be doing your work, doing your job. And then you want him to respect the law or respect you. As an engineer, you go over there, you don't know how to do that. The guy with the wrench, okay, who learned by not anything. You tell him, you know what, I think you can do that. Can you do this for me? I will just supervise you. That is not what these things were. This is not why Joseph Boykai or we have brought you guys in your job, in your resume say you are top-notch guy. You are coming here. We are expecting you to come in and help us out. Then something like that happened. The guy said, okay, listen, I don't know what to do now. So Jerry, you do it the Indian way and Man, this is terrible. Jimmy, in your closing, address that.
Whoa, wow, okay. It's been a good discussion. I realized that, and let me go to the independence thing first. I realized that you know, it's difficult to bring people together, you know. But for somehow, Liberia has miraculously forged a unique individual called the Liberian from different backgrounds. Yeah, we could have done things better. At the same time, we survived. What is going to make the difference is how we perceive going forward. I think this is the second republic, and this new republic has yet to prove its significance in history. So we've gotten this far, and then it's going to require us with a unified effort and a structure, a comprehensive structure and plan and goals to go the next millennium. And this, yeah, we do want to have our partners contribute. Mr. Tawa, I put two documents in the chat for you. You should see it. We want to have our partners contribute, but we have to know how they are contributing. We don't want them to contribute and compromise our ability to do other stuff. Some of the type of ways that people contribute, they may be even strapping further, crippling us. So it is important that we analyze how this contribution will come in and how it will affect us. And then once we realize what we really need, you know, and then we can invite them to make that contribution. But we should not allow them to contribute anywhere because that will obligate us in a way that if the document I send you, Mr. Tao, they will tell you, say the IMF, you think it's helping, it's not helping you, because they tell you to devalue your company, they tell you to sell your resources, they tell you to do the wrong things. But look how Traore and his brothers are doing their country. There's a way to create our own wealth. We can support investment with our own wealth instead of borrowing from there. But the bottom line, Mr. Gaiman, is we have to reevaluate how, we accept assistance and aid, and some assistance and aid is not what we need, but we rather need to put our own investment in the country. I will stop there.
Thank you very much. Tao, closing.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, and to our viewers. There was a nice show. When I come here on these shows, I'm not a partisan person. I'm not tribal. I'm not of those. I'm an African, because whatever you want to claim, as long as you're an African, we have the same common enemies, and that is what we've been struggling with. So I get kind of disillusioned when I start hearing this other party and our other party and the other group, then it just keep us into the division. We need to function, where we reduce that division so we can have clarity for us to clearly see our problem, see the single source of our problem, so that we can be able to deal with it. But when it comes to the independent stuff, Liberia is a failed experiment. They said it. Liberia was an experiment to see if they can establish America in Africa. And it worked for a small town, for a small group of people, but it failed because when you go into a town, you have to respect the laws of that town. Even if you have some contribution to make, you have to bring yourself to the town chief. You have to say what your intentions are, and you have to see what you are trying to do conform or it fit with their existing structure, and if it can benefit them. The American Liberians failed to do that. And once they failed to do that, the trajectory that it set Liberia on was that of pretty much trying to seclude the entire nation. So we need to go back. We cannot move forward. It would never work. We cannot move forward. We have to go back and deconstruct the educational system, the governing system. We cannot function outside of our cultural norms and values. Africa have very good culture. We are very moral people. If when you go into the interior before the war, or if you go further out, you find out the children are well behaved, they listen, they are dedicated, you leave your door open, nothing. That culture, we're not saying try to take and just shove it, but bring it into the present and then modify it to where it can meet our challenges today. Even if we have to do it in parts, we have to be able to do this. Here we are talking about, because I'm just trying to say this because all these things we're talking about land right. And I asked Thomas, he was here. I said, you keep talking about the land right and drafted. Whose culture and tradition are these things guiding? Because the way the African handle land is completely different. They started saying, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. Because the European does not know how to deal with land. The Europeans have all been conquering people. Wherever they go, the government, the army come and they take over the land, then they own the land, and then they lease it out to the people. In the African perspective, all been different. The clans and the towns own the land, and then they become custodian, and everybody use the land like that. When we're talking about forest, the Africans don't go in and cut down all their forests. My uncles that were head of the Poro and the Sunday, they will impose moratorium on rivers and on forests, sometimes for 10 years, 15 years. We know how to manage it. So if you, Europe and America, they don't have forests. So if you are trying to talk about forest reservation, why don't you go to the Africans in the villages and towns and ask them, hey, what process and method did you use to build this forest for all this time? When everybody else around the world was losing their forests.
This is a new and improved Aliu.
Yeah. Then, but you see, then when you listen to them, then you take that knowledge and you extrapolate it to the national level and you implement that as your forest management policy.
Yeah.
But because I'm going to close on it, but you see the reason that we can't do it is because we have developed the criminal and deceptive mind of the Europeans whose schools we are going to. And this is how.
But I want, Mr. Tao, I want to ask you, are you a Liberian?
Yes.
But then how you would say that they did not succeed?
I'm an African. What they did. Does not, I'm an African. Liberia is just a construct. It doesn't exist.
You are a Liberian. That means they were successful because the intention was to create the Liberia.
What type of quasi state that is in disarray?
We can improve all the time.
Yeah, that is why I'm telling you how we can improve it.
Okay, but the fact that you are a Liberian, proud Liberian, means they were successful.
No, it was not successful.
Okay, guys, we have surpassed our time here. Land, so we can go.
Yeah.
And then today, July 26, I gotta go drink, man.
I know.
Yeah.
So look at what happened. Yeah, but look at what happened here. So we need to be honest with ourselves that the reason that we who so-called went to school and have some degree of education, we see that if we have to go back and learn from the people, our so-called projection that we are some kind of knowledgeable people and have monopoly over some of the knowledge goes away. So we come and we push the Western narrative or the Chinese or our narrative. Then we who not live there, we come and we say, now that this is the one that is accepted, we must be over it, like the Justice Minister is doing. Then when we show up there, we have no head, no tail. We're asking private or Indian people for them to run our country. Just like the missionary, the people did with the missionaries, the American Liberians. They pretty much gave out schooling, education that is the most critical part. They gave it out to missionaries, and missionaries were the one that were running it, and they pretty much just sat there. And when the missionaries left, our educational system is bad. So we're still repeating the same thing. The other person wake up, they will delegate this one to this one and to that one, and when USAID then left, health system collapsed. What happened if GT leave? If you're doing a rehabilitation and everybody getting better, one day GT leave, then what happened? Everything collapsed. So we have to deconstruct and reconstruct every aspect. Our problem is not education. Education, we have the wrong education. That is where the problem is, because education is about the survival for people. And I want to say so every African can hear this. If your education is supposed to be geared towards the liberation of your people so they can self-determine. If your education is not geared in that direction, from an African perspective, you are illiterate.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Happy July 26th. I think this conversation needed to be had. Whatever mistakes we made from the beginning, those guys and girls that came with nothing but faith did as much as they could. Now we are here. It is incumbent upon us now to get together and fix. We know it's wrong. We know it's broken. So why is it that we are having such a terrible time fixing our healthcare, our education? When you go in a room, when Liberian put a panel together and you see the panelists and their credential, when they introduce themselves, you say, wow. But then when you look at the aggregate performance report, it is nothing.
Yeah.
When you go to some of these, I guess it is either government functions or some of these symposium. It is just a symposium where people beat their chest. I went to Harvard. I went to Columbia. I got this degree. I got that degree. But collectively, what is it that we have done?
Nothing.
We have 204 years today. If I took today to be the landing day, we do not have running water. We do not have safe drinking water. We are still doing public defecation. We don't have running water. We don't have sanitation. We don't have the basic public utilities. These are the basic fundamental pillars of civilization. We don't have them. So how then can we say this is civilization? We are only good when we are on the public stage outside of Liberia. When we speak, people want to visit Liberia. But when they visit the place, it's a complete disappointment. We don't have engineers to take care of our utilities. We don't have engineers to do basic water. We don't have doctors and scientists and public health officials, nothing. So everything is just broken. But yet and still, when it comes to our independence, we're all over the place. No, we are not independent until you get your own independent water system, your own independent education, your own independent health care, everything. We are still asking the IMF. Anyone who told you that the IMF and the World Bank is there to help you, tell them they know absolutely nothing. The World Bank is a bank. Their job is to make profit. And you allow them to take over your country. That's what it is. So all this thing about independence, yeah, on paper it sounds good. But are we independent? No. Jimmy will not educate his children in Liberia. Definitely not me. Not you either. When Jimmy and I go to Liberia, we'll be scared like hell. We don't want to get sick. We'd be glad if the light is on for 12 hours in a row. So let us not get carried away. We have to collectively agree that there is something fundamentally wrong with this country and we have to fix it. If it means we cut salary, cut everybody pay by 50 or 60% and say, you know what, we're going to target just electricity this whole 6 years. Honorable Joseph Boyka, beside paying, just do the electricity. If you gave the entire Liberia electricity, you will have accomplished something.
Yep.
Mr. We are just taking on one thing. If you're going to give us running water throughout the country, pipe-borne water, that is a major achievement than to do a million things wrong. It will get electricity. It will help the economy, security, you name it, education, healthcare. You don't have to do surgery with flashlights. You don't have to do that. If you have running water, you cut down diarrhea, you do dysentery, you cut down typhoid, you do a lot of stuff with clean water. But my people, we've been saying this 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and every government in, government out, same thing. So sometimes we need to do the introspection. We need to look within. What is it that we are doing besides what they call extractive industry? I'm not talking about the diamond and the gold. I'm talking about us going to Liberia and extracting the high salaries.
Yep.
And then bringing it over here. People making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month. What are you going to do with it? Bringing it over here to pay their mortgages and the children to school, or pay the car notes. They are extracting just as mental students extracting the natural resources.
Yep. Capital flight.
That's correct. So we have to rethink, guys. It is not about partisan. It is not about tribe. It's not about Congo country. It's about the system needs to be refixed. And the way to do that is to bring honest people around the table and say, you know what, we are sick and tired of this. We need to fix it. So finally we can fix it. Until then, now let's do this again next Sunday. Hopefully, God give us life to be here. We thank you very much. Jimmy, can you take us home?
Yeah.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.